Welcome to yet another FPL live stream, and I know the deadline is tomorrow at 11, but I'm unable to do a live stream tomorrow, so now I'm here, and any questions you have, any comments, I'll be responding to every single one of you. And of course, there's going to be not only questions about Game Week 14, but also looking forward to Game Weeks 18 and 19, which I've discussed in, quite a lot of detail in my last video, but still more to come. And of course, I can change my mind. I did say I could use my free hit for Game Week 18, but you never know. And I don't have that first wildcard to prepare for Game Week 19, but I do have quite a few players. I'll be talking about that as well. Also the captaincy, of course, and some differentials like Rashford, who I did discuss in my last video, because some of you were saying, should I go from Son to Rashford and stuff like that? And I did say for these few game weeks, Rashford could be good, but in the long term, maybe not so much. And I still prefer the likes of Son. But I'll be responding to all of you now in the live chat. Thank you for everyone who's been waiting so patiently. I really appreciate it. And welcome Atul. Welcome Pesini, who have been commenting for hours. Thank you so much. And I try to be on time at all, but it's a good thing that I am. Dylan, my team, Martinez, Zuma, Vestergaard, Chilwell, Kilman, Dallas, Grealish, Fernandes, Son, Salah, Souček, Adams, DCL, Bamford. Any thoughts? I've got one free transfer and 3.4 million. That's a lot of money, to be fair. Let me look at this though. You got that double Chelsea defense, which is fair enough. And to be honest, that's something I went away from for game week 13. But in the end, I've gone straight back to it. I do like that defense, although Dallas, you're mainly relying on those attacking returns, and defensively, I have to keep on saying it, Leeds are very, very poor. So you could maybe upgrade him, maybe to the likes of Dyer, even Diaz, who I got rid of, but he's still a good option. It's just with him, fair enough, it's mainly just the clean sheets, but maybe a more reliable source of points on a consistent basis. And then when you look at your midfield, it's very, very good. I mean, Souček's a great fifth option, and of course the four you have. I know Grealish recently has been very, very frustrating, because if you look at his performance the other day against Burnley, he had 6 shots, but he also created 6 chances for his teammates, and the likes of El Ghazi, oh my god, so frustrating to see, because Grealish could have had so many points on another day. But that's the thing with Grealish, you keep on looking at him, and this is why I don't want to captain him. He could either get you that 20-pointer or, double-digit haul, or if not, he's just going to get you those 1 or 2 points, or maybe 3 if he gets a clean sheet, and you're just left frustrated, because really he deserves to have a lot more. But your midfield's very good, and your attack, I do like it, to be honest. And Che Adams, another assist against Arsenal, and for his price, he's one of the best. Of course, Bamford, in my opinion, is the best, and you've got him already. Callum Wilson's also pretty good, and DCL, I mean, he's just so consistent. So to be honest, when I look at your team, I would probably say upgrade the likes of Kilman to have a playing defender, and then, like I said, so you've already got a Villa keeper in Martinez, and you have a Southampton defender in Vestergaard. So I would say try to move Kilman maybe to Taylor. If not, you could go to Kufal or Creswell, whoever you want. And Dallas, you could keep him, and he does have a double game week, but I would personally probably move him on maybe to the likes of Dyer or Diaz, maybe even Reguilon if you think he's going to start. And in terms of your strike force, although I said Adams is good, and he is, maybe you could move him to Ings if you have enough money. But then again, around this price, I mean, only Wilson's better probably, but I like that team. It's very, very good. Pogba or Bellerin on the bench. To be honest, I always favour the more attacking player, but Pogba, I know he did very well the other day against Sheffield, or it was yesterday actually, but I'm not too sure about him, because he's not going to be reliable. He's not going to get you points consistently. The likes of Bruno will, even Rashford, because he's so advanced. Pogba, he can have a great game, but he won't get those FPL numbers that you want. So I would probably go for Pogba anyway. I don't expect Bellerin to keep a clean sheet if he starts. And even then, maybe Arteta's going to finally play Niles ahead of him, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's look. Do you dream of getting FPL Team of the Week one day? To be honest, I mean, that would be pretty nice, and I could maybe gloat about it for a bit, but I'm not too, bothered about that. And I've had a few weeks, where I had just a really good week, and I was just happy with that. But yeah, first in the world, that's very difficult to do, to be honest. I got Diaz for Chilwell already. Mistake. I mean, I wouldn't call it a mistake, and now I say that, and yet I went back to Chilwell straight away. But the reason why I did that myself is because I looked at that Wolves game, and Chilwell was so advanced, and he was literally in Wolves' penalty area, and he was just compared to the previous 4 or 5 game weeks anyways, he was so much more advanced and he was putting in some good crosses. Some of them were pretty poor, but he was just a consistent threat, and that was the reason I got him in the first place. With Diaz, the own goal is very unlucky, and to be honest, if it wasn't for that, then maybe City would have kept the clean sheet and I would still have Diaz in my team. But to be honest, that was kind of like a wake-up call for me anyway, because at least at the time, there was a 0.4 million difference because I had Chilwell at 6 million in terms of how much I could sell him for, and Diaz is 5.6. So for that 0.4 million difference, Chilwell offers you so much more attacking threat than Diaz and more consistency in terms of points regardless. So to be honest, that's why I just went back to Chilwell, and from that I lost 5 points, and from that I also lost 0.2 million in terms of transfer value, which I could have used to move Kilman to Taylor, for example, and have pretty much a very good team overall, apart from Basuma, who's literally just a 1 or 2 pointer. So I don't think it's a mistake. Diaz is going to get clean sheets, maybe even against Southampton, and if not, maybe against Newcastle. And yeah, City are going to keep a lot of clean sheets this season, maybe the most of any team. But the problem with Diaz is, apart from maybe 1 or 2 headers that he will score this season, you don't see too many other bonus points or stuff like that other than clean sheets. But I wouldn't call it a mistake. But for me, personally, I mean, I just prefer having Chilwell, and that's why I went back to him. Although maybe now, for this game week, West Ham score against Chelsea, and Southampton just don't score against City, and then Diaz gets the points over him. Let's go through all your questions. Thank you to everyone who's joined in. Welcome if you are new to the stream. Salah, Bruno or KDB for the captain, that's great. So that's something I wanted to discuss as well. So from those 3 that you mentioned, to be honest, I would probably go for Bruno, but it's very tough because you know what? It's very important to also look at the records of players, against certain teams. And De Bruyne against Southampton has a good record, as you can see here. 7 games, he's got 2 goals and 6 assists. And although he hasn't really gotten any returns against Southampton recently, it's De Bruyne. He could do whatever he wants. And Southampton, as you can see, are one of the teams that he does best against in terms of assists anyway. I think he's on the second page. But yeah, Kevin De Bruyne is a great option. You look at Bruno, it's hard to tell because he's never played Leeds United before. But the way Leeds play, and Bruno, I have to say, against Sheffield, he was so unlucky to blank because he played at least 3 or 4 quality balls, and his passing, just everything was very good. Of course, a few pretty poor touches and passes, but apart from that, I think he was one of the best players on the pitch. And to be honest, on another day, he gets yet another return, and it's very unlucky for those who captained him. You look at Salah against Palace, and his record's pretty decent. He's got 4 goals in 7 games and 3 assists. And to be honest, you shouldn't really count these games for Chelsea because he's a completely different player nowadays. But yeah, he can do very well. Away from home at Selhurst Park, he's gotten 2 assists before, and he's also scored. So you know what? It's up to you if you want to captain Salah. But maybe for this game week, I'm not sure. But the moral of the story is never rule out Salah. People were telling me to get rid of him for the Tottenham game. And what does he do? He scores. And to be honest, maybe a bit unlucky not to get bonus points because the goal was very crucial. Now, of course, you didn't ask about Kane. I think he's one of the standout captaincy options this week. But yeah, from those 3, probably Bruno. But you can't go wrong with either one of them. They're all good choices. And in terms of, my case, I think Kane's going to be my captain. You look at his record against Leicester, it's ridiculous. He's got 14 goals in 10 games, and he's got an assist. And to be honest, that doesn't even include fantasy assists. He might have another 1 or 2 on top of that. So yeah, his record's insane. And to be honest, yeah, I think he's one of the standout captaincy options because of that. And yeah, Kane is someone I'm really considering, but that's what I think about it. I brought in Kane for Vardy this week due to the fixtures coming up and Leicester's inconsistency. Who to captain, Bruno, Salah, Son or Kane? Yeah, like I said, in my opinion, I mean, this is how I feel at the moment. I think Kane is the best because of his record against Leicester. And also, just forget about the record. Also, his form. He's only blanked 3 times this season, and he's so consistent. So, it's very unlikely that he'll blank 2 or 3 games in a row. Now, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to score. No one is, but I just really like Kane for this game week. And then, apart from that, if you're not really feeling Kane, I wouldn't go for Son because I think from a Spurs, perspective, Kane is the only one you want to captain. But you never know with Son. And then with Bruno or Salah, like I said, I'd probably go for Bruno, but Salah is Salah, and in my opinion, he's the best captaincy option over the past few years. He's so consistent, so you can't go wrong with either one of them, even Son. But I think Kane is the best one. If you don't own Kane, who would you captain? I have all premium midfielders. Yeah, just as I have to keep on saying, Bruno Fernandes probably. Then maybe I would consider the likes of Salah or De Bruyne. But yeah, it would be Bruno, my vice captain probably, or if not, I mean, to be fair, I do have the vice captaincy on Salah, and I might change that to Bruno. But I'm not sure, I'm not too bothered about that. Kane is going to play anyway, so the vice captaincy probably won't go on him, but maybe it will just be on Bruno, to be honest. It's just definitely one of them. It would be Bruno or Salah. That would be my answer. Should I drop KDB to get a better all-round team? I have Salah and Bruno. Well, I'm not sure about your situation, but the way you phrased it, it makes it seem that you would improve your whole squad and, from making that move. So in my case, I always prefer having a balanced squad over, these big hitters that you really just want to cram in. And De Bruyne, I know he was very unlucky not to get points against West Brom, but if you look at it overall, he just hasn't proved his worth this season so far. And that doesn't mean KDB has been bad this season overall, but in FPL terms, he's not getting the points, especially compared to last season. City aren't firing as they were before. They're not creating as many chances. They're not scoring as much. So, to be honest, I do like the look of it, but it does depend who you would get in. So, yeah, let me know, and I'll give you further thoughts on that. I got Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I got 2 Chelsea defenders as well. United play Leeds next. Chelsea play West Ham. I'm confused whether to play both Chelsea defenders or one of them and AWB to have spread out my players. Well, it is up to you, to be honest, but I would probably play the 2 Chelsea defenders. That's me personally. I mean, if you look at Man United, I know at home they've kept the brunt of their clean sheets, but Chelsea, defenders, I mean, I'm assuming you have Zuma and Chilwell, and if not, you have Reece James, and they all offer attacking threat, which Aaron Wan-Bissaka doesn't. Watch me say that, and now Aaron Wan-Bissaka gets an assist, but I would prefer having the 2 Chelsea defenders. I know West Ham are a decent team, but that's what I would do personally. I'm not too convinced with Man United. Which club do you support? I support Arsenal, as you can see here. It is my club. I'm not lying about that. And yeah, the less said about that, the better. But it is what it is. I have Diaz as well. Yeah, I mean, Southampton's a tricky one because, as I pointed out in my preview, Southampton kept a clean sheet against City last season in their ground, and West Ham did the same thing against Chelsea, so you never know. Yeah, maybe you could go for Diaz, but then again, with him, you're mainly relying on clean sheets. But if it was a choice between Diaz against Southampton away or Aaron Wan-Bissaka at home to Leeds, I would still probably go for Diaz, but it's a tough one. What to do with Mendy? City looking teams for Game Week 19, also thinking between Robertson, Dyer, Diaz, or double up on Chelsea. Already have Chilwell. I mean, they're all good choices, to be honest, but I actually really like that Chelsea double up. Now, Robertson, of course, he's a fantastic player, got an assist against Spurs, but when I look at it overall, for 7 million, you can get better value in defence from the likes of Reece James, Kurt Zuma, even Reguilon, Dyer, etc. But the thing is, if you're really looking at that, double game week in Game Week 19, just consider it. Spurs don't have one, so that maybe rules out Dyer for you, and the likes of Reguilon. Even Man City, they don't have a double game week in Game Week 19, and I'll be looking at that very shortly. I'll be talking about it, just as I did in my preview. So, double up on Chelsea with 2 fixtures, even though they're not maybe particularly the greatest fixtures. Yeah, I would probably go for that. But if you're just looking at it overall, if you're not confident in Chelsea defenders, then I'll just, go for one of the others. But I have the confidence in Chelsea defenders, especially for what they've done, apart from the clean sheets. So I would go for them. Hey mate, I have 2 free transfers. My plans are to move KDB and Grealish, since City haven't impressed me, to Salah and Rashford. What thoughts? I like those moves, to be honest, but I know Grealish has been very poor at the moment. Last 3 games he's blanked, basically, because he didn't even have a fixture because of the Newcastle game being postponed, and then, a 2-pointer and a 3-pointer. So not very impressive Grealish, but I still think over the season I would prefer him over Rashford. But maybe for these next few weeks, I think Rashford could be a great choice. So therefore, I think those 2 transfers are very good for you, and I would recommend them. But in the long term, I do prefer Grealish over Rashford. Werner or Jesus for captain? You put CO at the beginning. I'm not sure if you're talking about Champions League there. If it's for Champions League, I mean, I'm not even sure, to be honest. I'm not even thinking about that. And if it's for, this week, if you're talking about FPL, I mean, I don't know, probably Jesus. I just don't like Werner too much, but you never know. Maybe he'll finally produce. I thought of removing Robertson in order to get Werner to Kane, but I think Robertson is essential for the double game week. What's your thoughts? Thank you for your comment. I wouldn't say he's essential. I understand what you mean because he's got 2 great fixtures. And you know what? Let's talk about that now. Apologies if I, take a bit of time to get to your questions, but this is very important to talk about. So you say that Robertson is very important or an essential. He's got Man United at home and Burnley at home. And to be honest, they can do very well in terms of keeping clean sheets in those games. Robertson can get some attacking returns. But at the same time, I don't know. I wouldn't call him an essential. And like I said, he's 7 million and you can get better value elsewhere. So I wouldn't try to, tear up your structure to get him in. And in your case, you already have him. So I'm not sure you could get rid of him. I mean, I think, that move from Werner to Kane is a very big upgrade. And, it's probably better to have that, have Kane and maybe, I don't know, Chilwell, Reece James, Zuma, Dyer, Reguilon, Diaz, etc. Than Robertson. So I would recommend that move. But of course, Liverpool do have, 2 great fixtures. I mean, Man United isn't a great fixture, but Burnley at home is a fantastic fixture. Then again, last season, Burnley did draw at Anfield, so you never know. But yeah, that's a good point to make. And let's keep on going. Hey mate, bit stuck on what to do this week. Martinez, Chilwell, Robertson, Lamptey, Dallas, Mitchell, Son, KDB, Fernandes, Salah, Watkins, Bamford, Wilson. And you've got Dallas, Mitchell and Basuma on the bench. I agree with that. The problem here, is Lamptey. He keeps on getting knocks and he's a good player, of course. He's very offensive and he played in the last game, got the clean sheet. But I don't know, there always seems to be a problem with this guy. And he's someone I would probably look to transfer out if I were you. Robertson, like I said, you can find better value elsewhere with West Ham, Southampton, City, Spurs, even another Chelsea defender. And in terms of your midfield and attack, I do like it. And, probably the main, gripe I would have with your attack is Watkins. I mean, yeah, he's got West Brom next, but I just don't like him. Like, he's got most of his points in 2 games and then he got 1 penalty against Southampton. So I'm not really a big fan of Watkins. And, he's not even great cover for not having Grealish. So to be honest, I would probably look to move Watkins on. And in order to fund it, you can move Robertson to, one of those defenders I said. You can move Lamptey as well to another one of those defenders. And if you need money, you could go maybe from one of KDB or Fernandes. You could downgrade to Rashford or Grealish, to be honest, and you can make those funds in the attack. Thoughts on doubling up on Bruno and Rashford? To be honest, I think it's pretty decent, but in the long term, I wouldn't be too, keen on it. Of course, it is a viable option. Like I said, in maybe the short term, him over Grealish is probably a great choice. So it's up to you. I mean, if you're really confident in Man United and their attack, then go for it. But bear in mind that Man United are very, very inconsistent at home and they don't score that much. They tend to be more cautious, reserved, compared to away from home where they're pretty much scoring 3 goals every single game. So bear that in mind. Got 2 free transfers and 0.3 million in the bank. Was thinking Son to Souček and Wilson to Kane for this week, but unsure. To be honest, I like having Son and Wilson, to be honest, for your overall squad. But of course, for this game week, Kane captaincy, I get the appeal. But Souček, I wouldn't want to start him anyway. He's, like I always say about Souček, he's great to have when you have someone who's rotated, doesn't play, and Souček comes in as your 5th midfielder. But you don't want him to be starting nearly every single week, and you'd probably want to reverse those transfers in the end. Even though, of course, Wilson's fixtures do turn very soon, but he's got Fulham next, I believe. So yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I wouldn't do it personally. Bruno, Salah or Son for captaincy? Definitely not Son in my opinion. Of course, he can do very well. You can't really go against him, but I'd probably go for either one of Bruno or Salah. And I'd probably maybe go for Bruno just because of how Leeds play. But then again, you look at Man United at home, just doesn't convince me. And Bruno can have a very good game like he did yesterday and not produce the points. Why you don't have differentials? Well, to be honest, I'm not really too bothered about differentials. I've gone up in rank consistently because in terms of the combination of players, not many teams have, this exact, template team or whatever. I wouldn't say, I'm not really too bothered about, having differentials or not. Just having consistent players who I believe in, who can do the business. Of course, Rashford, as I've pointed out before, is a great differential, but end of the day, I prefer Bruno Fernandes. Son, of course, he's the furthest thing from a differential. And then you have also the likes of Calvert-Lewin, even Kane. They're owned by so many people. But end of the day, I like this team. And I don't want to just, make changes just to be different because ultimately I'll probably suffer from it. Isn't it boring that almost every top player has the same midfield? Bruno, Grealish, KDB, Son, Salah. There is no variety. Well, compared to UCL Fantasy, I mean, there's probably more variety in that game, but end of the day, you want to get players who are reliable and that you think are going to get you the points. So I'm not too concerned about that. And you know what? I prefer actually having fewer headaches and constantly changing my team. I don't like that. I prefer having a stable structure, and I prefer struggling to think about a transfer to make rather than, picking apart my team just to chase fixtures and stuff like that. But yeah, I get your point. Is Giroud a good FPL asset now? He's not bad, and he's definitely better than he was a year ago, but I think around his price, I think there's better value. Wilson, Bamford, Che Adams. If you go up a bit, you can get Ings. And yeah, I'm not. I think he's a good differential, and he is a good player on his day, but he's also very wasteful. And you look at the Leeds game, for example. I know he scored, but yeah, I wouldn't go for him personally. But he's a decent differential. I wouldn't call him, a great FPL asset. He's probably all right. Is it worth taking a -4 hit next week? Salah to KDB, and to afford it, I need 0.4 million, so I could do Vestergaard for Zuma. Thank you. Oh, so I'm guessing you're going from KDB to Salah. To be honest, those are good moves, but Zuma, getting rid of him, especially if you have a lot of money tied into him, I'm not too sure about that. But of course, Salah over KDB, I've said it since the beginning of the season pretty much. I do like that. I think Salah's a far better asset this season. So of course, that is an upgrade. Then you look at Vestergaard, he is pretty good. He's probably the best one you can get from Southampton. So those are good moves. But of -4, not too sure. And Vestergaard faces City, I know City have been a bit toothless, but I'm not too sure about that. So I wouldn't take the -4 personally. And you can captain KDB this week. Like I pointed out, his record against Southampton is actually pretty decent. So I would probably not take the hit. What were your points in the last season, FPL double game week approximately? There were a lot of double game weeks, or quite a few, so I'm not even sure. I would have to check through the archives to tell you, but I tended to do all right, 70, 90 points. Maybe sometimes that time I told you about 127 from the bench boost, I believe. So it tended to go pretty well. But yeah, I can't remember most of them. There's plenty more to come, I think, but we'll have to wait and see. Good evening. I'm currently considering for my short-term plans, KDB plus Wilson out for Son and DCL. I'm reluctant to take out KDB, but I also like the combo Son DCL. Thoughts? Great question, Juventini, and very happy that you've joined us once again. To be honest, I get your reservations about it. The problem I would have with making these moves is that Wilson has Newcastle, has Fulham, for example, and yeah, just to confirm, he does. And he's also got a decent record against them. I think 2 goals in 2 games. So maybe for this fixture, this game week, maybe I'd hold off, but ultimately, like you said, I would agree. I think that combination, Son and Calvert-Lewin, is very, very good. So, if you don't want to burn a transfer, then I would say go ahead with those moves, but just be aware that KDB and Wilson can do very well this week and maybe outperform, the duo that you get in. But ultimately, if you're asking me which duo is better, I would definitely say Son and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Should I captain Salah or Fernandes? When are you using your free hit? So, when am I using my free hit? Most likely in game week 18, but nothing is set in stone. And of course, I explained all of this in my last video, but it depends, things change very quickly, and maybe a free hit can be used better down the line, maybe in game weeks 30 plus, and also in conjunction with other chips. So that's why I don't want to just completely, say, I'm using it in game week 18 and I'm using a wild card to prepare for game week 19, because maybe it's the wrong decision. So at the moment, my idea is to free hit in game week 18, but not too sure about that after. And like I said, with Salah or Fernandes, to be honest, that would be really difficult for me. If I didn't have Kane, it would definitely be between them two. But I don't know, I'd probably edge towards Bruno Fernandes, but not too confident in either one of them. They could, of course, do really well, but, I'm not sure, because maybe Rashford's going to be the one stepping up again, and United at home, like I said, they've just been really poor this season. And then when you look at Salah against Palace away, I think Mane is the one that has a great record against Palace, so I wouldn't be too sure about that, but probably would go towards Bruno, but not too sure overall. Dan, bro, you have a really nice FPL channel here and a very good overall rank to back it up. Very impressive. Thank you. To be honest, I'm very happy with the rank, and of course that does help a lot. But yeah, I wouldn't say it backs up anything. To be honest, the main thing is discussing FPL with all of you and generating ideas, because I learn from it and you lot hopefully do as well. But yeah, very happy with the season so far, and since my last video, I was around 91k in the world, and I got a 20k green arrow despite Bruno Fernandes captaincy blank. And let's actually talk about that for a second, because I haven't obviously spoken about it. Martinez got 8 points, and very happy with that. But then you look at Grealish, like I said, very disappointing. On another day, he gets double digits. And then Fernandes, him and KDB just didn't do well. KDB slightly outperforms him because of the bonus points. But ultimately, my vice-captain does much better than my captain. And the fact that I got rid of Chilwell for Diaz, I lost 5 points there. I lost 5 points from my captaincy at least. So, all these little mistakes, of course, I need to iron out. And, I make a lot of mistakes, but hopefully I do learn from them. And, the one transfer I've made for this game week is Chilwell in yet again for Diaz. Hopefully it turns out pretty all right. Should I take a -4 hit to bring in Son for Mahrez? To be honest, I think Son's a much better asset, and you could wait for next game week. But if you really want to get Son in now and you think he's going to do really well against Leicester, then go for it. But of course, you need Son to outperform Mahrez by at least 4 points, and that's pretty likely, to be fair, but I wouldn't say it's set in stone. If I drop KDB, it would be for Neto or Mount, so I can upgrade my defence, which I would move Target to Robbo or upgrade Welbeck to DCL. Definitely I wouldn't do Target to Robertson, because Welbeck to Calvert-Lewin is a much better upgrade, and I would prefer that, if anything, so I'd do that. Neto is actually pretty decent for his price, but of course, as I always say, and I'm not going to change my mind, even though Neto has been very impressive, I prefer having someone like Grealish, budget. I got him in around 7 million or whatever, and he's pretty consistent, or should I say, maybe not consistent is the right word. He's he just offers great value, basically. Have someone like him, and I would trust him more than Neto, and then, some big hitters like Son, Fernandes, and Salah. That's the midfield structure I like, but if I had, a midfield around 6 million or 5 million, then Neto would be right up there. So I get those moves, but Target to Robertson, I don't think you would make as many points from that as you would with the other moves. CL probably meant Calvert-Lewin in that comment. Oh yeah, fair enough, that's a good point. Will those two moves, my team will look like this: Martinez, Chilwell, Cancelo, Kufal, Salah, Rashford, Son, Bruno, DCL, Bamford, Ings. That's a really good team, to be fair. And the only problem, of course, is if Cancelo gets rotated, but I don't think he will. And then, of course, you've got two Man United midfielders, which is a bit of a differential in itself. And I think that will benefit you, especially in the away matches. As for the home matches, as I keep on stressing, and I'm not saying that Man United can't score goals because they're facing the second worst defence in the league. But you know what? I would probably think that will benefit you in the away games more so than the home games. But I like your front line, it's pretty good. And yeah, it's a good all-round team, to be honest. There's no glaring weaknesses there. There are some leaks predicting Salah to be benched against Palace. Oh my God. There's always seems to be some news that gets leaked either just before I stream or during, but thank you very much for that. I'm going to have a look at that for sure, and hopefully that's not true, but then again, Salah is probably due a rest, and I think Mane, like I kept saying anyway, he's probably the one who you would expect to do very well against Palace because of his record. Has there been a noticeable drop in the number of penalties recently, especially considering there wasn't a single penalty this game week? Have teams got the handball rule down when defending? To be honest, Savage Mode, during the first 3 game weeks, I believe it was, they had these really strict rules on handballs from the beginning of the season. Then they changed it and they became more lenient. So obviously the referees now, they're obviously going to be abiding by the rules, and the rules aren't as strict. So that's why there's been a noticeable drop-off in penalties. But I actually didn't notice that. There's no penalties in this game week, and that's pretty surprising. I actually remember, I think in the Liverpool-Spurs game, I think Højbjerg, when the ball was about to hit his hand, he actually put it behind his back, which is obviously smart. And more players are, living, or should I say, becoming a bit smarter and wiser about it. But then again, Eric Dyer, maybe that could have been a penalty for Liverpool when it hit his arm. But then again, I think, the rules are just more lenient. So therefore, not many penalties are going to be given out compared to before. Should I take out DCL for a cheaper striker and bring in Sterling? To be honest, Sterling in previous seasons, I would say, yeah, okay, I would go for that move. But I just don't like Sterling this season. I don't really see the appeal. I know he got an assist against West Brom, but the only player I would consider from Man City in terms of the attack at the moment is Kevin De Bruyne. And DCL going to a cheaper striker, I just don't see it. I would prefer keeping DCL, so I would say no. Lamptey to Kufal or James for the next few? It depends if you have a Chelsea defender already or not. If you do have a Chelsea defender already, you could just go for Kufau instead. But otherwise, I would probably prefer Reece James overall. Hi mate, 2 free transfers and what would you do? Martinez, Robertson, Chilwell, James, KDB, Salah, Bruno, Son, Watkins, Wilson and Bamford. Substitutes Burke, Mitchell and Dunn. No money in the bank. Thinking Mitchell to a 3.8 million. To be honest, with the double game weeks coming up, I would probably just argue go above. So go from Mitchell to Taylor, for example, just to have that more squad depth. And if you want to use a bench boost, for example, in game week 19, then you could do so. But if not, if you're not really thinking of doing that, you could, do that move and then look to upgrade elsewhere. But as I'll keep saying to people with Robertson, it's nothing against him, and I'm not saying he can't do really well or be the highest scoring defender in the game. But I just think at the moment, he doesn't offer enough for his 7 million price tag. So I would probably look to go from him to a City defender or a Spurs defender. And if you want a West Ham or Southampton defender who offers such great value. And your midfielder, it's pretty good, to be honest. I wouldn't really say it's a weakness. Your attack, though, Watkins, he's the weakness, in my opinion. Yeah, he has a great fixture coming up now, but I just would want to get rid of him at some point. And if you don't have money to upgrade, you could just go Che Adams. And yeah, if not, maybe with that Robertson money, you could actually go from Watkins to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I think that's a huge upgrade. When I'm using the wildcard, well, I've already used my first wildcard, so, I'm not going to be obviously using it. But as for my second one, I get it in game week 16 just like everyone else. I don't think I'm going to be using, of course, like I always say, things are subject to change. And even though, of course, I try to plan ahead and have a process set in motion, I sometimes deviate from it, if I feel like, actually I'm going to be doing better if I try something else. But at the moment, there's no plan to use my second wildcard when it comes in game week 16. And obviously, like I said, my first wildcard's already used. What will be your strategy for blank game week 18 and double game week 19? Very good question. Like I said, if anything, for game week 18 at the moment, I'm thinking of using my free hit because I don't think I even have too many players who are actually going to be playing on that game week. So let's look at the game week 18 fixtures. So Sheffield, Newcastle, like I said before, I don't have anyone from those teams because I got rid of Wilson for Bamford recently, and this was before the blank game week got announced. Wolves versus Everton, I only have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Kilman doesn't count because obviously he just doesn't play anymore. You have Man City, Brighton. I don't have any of their players. Only Basuma, and I wouldn't want to play him anyway. Then you have Aston Villa, Spurs. To be fair, I have quite a lot of players from this fixture. I've got Kane, Son, Grealish and Martinez, so that's fair enough. I've got 5 players so far. Then Arsenal, Palace, I've got no Arsenal players, with good reason, and I've got no Palace players. So overall, I'm looking at 5 players for game week 18, and that's why I would probably play my free hit, and I wouldn't want to play a wild card for game week 18 because then game week 19 is completely different and I wouldn't want to use a free hit for that. I would rather use the free hit in game week 18, and for game week 19, if anything, either use a bench boost or wild card, or just play with what I have, because if I look at it, I have plenty of players with double game weeks. So let's look at the fixtures again. So the teams that have the double game week. So West Ham have 2 home games against Burnley and West Brom. Very, very good. And I've got Kufau for that, which I'm very happy with. But maybe I could look to get the likes of Bowen, maybe another West Ham defender, Mikel Antonio if he's fit. I mean, is he going to be fit? I'm not sure. West Brom, they play Wolves away, West Ham away. I'm not going to be targeting any of their players. Leicester, they've got Southampton and Chelsea at home. To be honest, from Leicester, if I look at it, the only player I would be interested in is Vardy. Apart from that, not so much. But things can change, of course. Chelsea, I've got Fulham and Leicester away, so I've got the 2 Chelsea defenders there. They've got a double game week, so does Kufau. Then we look at Leeds, double game week, Brighton and Southampton at home. I've got Bamford. And of course, speaking of Southampton, they've got a double game week, Leicester away, Leeds away. I've got Walker-Peters. And then Fulham, don't have any of their players. Man United, I've got Bruno, double game week. Liverpool have a double game week, I've got Salah. And Burnley, I don't have anyone. But of course, if I wasn't so impulsive, I would call it, I'm trying to be nice to myself, and I didn't go from Chilwell to Diaz in the first place, I would have had enough money to go from Kilman to Taylor, and I could have played Taylor in for game week 19. But just think about it, even if I had Taylor for that double game week, who am I going to start him over when I have Kufau, Walker, Peters, Zuma, Chilwell, and then this midfield 4, this front 3? benching the likes of Son and Kane, even though they've got no double game week, it's just so difficult. How do you bench them when they have such great form? Maybe I would bench Grealish instead. But then again, Villa are so unpredictable. They tend to do very well against the bigger teams. But I would probably be looking at that. And, if you just become fixated on having a team or squad full of double game week players, the only way you can include all of them is by playing a bench boost. And, that's the only reason why, or the only way I would actually think of using my wildcard or having a team laden and full of double game week players. But I've got plenty already and I'm very happy with it, if I'm just being honest. But thank you for the question. That's a really good question. And let's see. The chat's gone all the way to the top, so I'm trying to find all of you and try to catch up. Thank you, everyone who's putting in the questions. Let's see. Where was that question? So does everyone use free hit on blank game week? Not necessarily everyone. So if you're looking to be different or something like that, of course, a lot of people will be using it for game week 18. But yeah, if you're planning on using a chip or not using a chip, just think about what's best for your team. It all depends because some people might have a lot of players for that game week 18 fixtures, and they don't need to use a free hit. So it depends ultimately. But I wouldn't be too worried about that if other people are doing it or not. But I would suspect at the moment anyway, a lot of people will be planning on using it then. Should I transfer out Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Grealish in the next few game weeks because of double game week 19? Well, that's the thing. This is where the problems come with becoming fixated with double game week 19 and blank game week 18. They're two players who have fixtures in game week 18. So even if they don't have two fixtures in game week 19, you could just use a chip for double game week 19 if you really want. And I'm not sure what your situation is with blank game week 18, but if you have plenty of players there already, then of course it differs. But they're two good players, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I have to keep on saying, for his price, especially the fact that he started at 7 million, you're not going to get much better. And if you have a lot of money tied into him and you try to get him back, unfortunately it's going to be very difficult to do so. I did Zaha, Brewster to Neto, Adams to rotate these both. Is it good? To be honest, yeah. I mean, Brewster's pretty useless, to be honest. He's a bit of a, he offers great value in terms of, allowing you to have 5 midfielders and stuff like that. But yeah, I would agree. I don't like having, too many players. Like I know a lot of people have 8 attackers and they tend to bench one of them and they can do very well. Sometimes you're going to get that decision wrong, and that's just going to be very frustrating. But Neto and Adams, very good, and I think that's 2 good moves. Any idea if you can predict the next team's blank game week so that you can keep in mind when building your double game week 19 team to be ahead of the curve? To be honest, I mean, you have to look at other competitions. So the double game weeks and the blank game weeks, they all happen when, let's say, for example, a game gets postponed, like Newcastle against Villa, or, the first few game weeks of the season. Remember Manchester United, they still have to play Burnley. That fixture hasn't been announced yet. Then you look at Man City, they haven't played Villa yet. So Aston Villa have 2 double game weeks to come, but they're not going to have one in game week 19. So there's a lot of things to consider. So you might prepare very well for game week 19 and get rid of the likes of Grealish, but then he's going to have 2 double game weeks. And if you want to get him back in, you're not going to be aware. So I think, if you really want to be planning ahead and having a good idea of when these fixtures are going to happen, then follow Ben Crellin. He always posts the best spreadsheets in order to plan ahead. And I'll be honest, I mean, this season I haven't looked at them or anything, but they are very useful and they can help you a lot. Because if I'm being honest, I'm not going to be thinking of every single game week and when each double game week and blank game week is going to happen. But of course, as we get closer to the time, I will be looking and I'll be talking about it with all of you. But at the moment, I mean, there's no way of knowing when, the future double game weeks are going to happen. But they always tend to happen around the same time. So keep an eye on them. But at the moment, we have these at hand, double game week 19 and blank game week 18. And that's what we should focus our attention on. But as I keep on saying, we don't want to jeopardize our teams beforehand between now, game week 14, should I say, and game week 17, because that's 4 game weeks worth of points. And you don't want to sacrifice all of that just for 2 game weeks where maybe your moves don't even pay off in the end. So just be prepared, try to have a balance, and don't, think too much about it. But great question, a very good question. Let's go up again. Should I take Grealish and Chilwell out? I have James for Salah and Kufal for a -4, or maybe wait 1 week. I'm thinking of KDB or Fernandes for captaincy. That's a good question. To be honest, I wouldn't take a -4. I mean, yeah, whenever defenders are involved, I tend to say no anyway. Of course, Grealish to Salah is a very good upgrade anyway, but you're thinking of captaining KDB and Fernandes, and there's that rumour that Salah's going to be benched. So in that case, I would not take the hit, because you're going to be bringing in Salah, and what if he doesn't play? Yeah, you're going to be captaining someone else. You're taking a hit involving a defender, so I would not do it. Rate my team, please. Martinez, Steer, Chilwell, Dallas, Kufal, Justin, Salah, KDB, Bruno, Son, Neto, DCL, Bamford, Adams. I mean, I don't give ratings, but I do like the team. Your front three is pretty good. Of course, ideally, you'd want to have someone else than Adams, but he is a very good choice for his price bracket. You look at your midfield. I do like that, to be fair. I think you have 5 midfielders, so you have this 8 forward kind of dilemma. It's also a solution, I guess, but having 8 attackers is very, very difficult to get right. You're going to be benching the wrong players at times who are going to be getting a lot of hauls. Justin is someone to keep an eye on. I just don't like Leicester defensively anyway. And the fact that Castagna and Pereira, I mean, I've been saying this for 2 months, to be fair, and they never seem to come back or be fit. So Justin always seems to avoid it. He gets some 11 pointers at times. But yeah, Chilwell I like, Kufo I like, your keepers obviously I like. Yeah, Dallas, you're mainly relying on attacking returns. So really, if I look at your team, Justin, Dallas, and maybe Adams as the ones you can improve on. And in order to do so, you could maybe downgrade Neto to a 4.5 million, but I'm guessing you got him in recently because of his form. So it really depends. Do you want to have a 3-5-2? Do you really want this midfielder to come into your team? Or do you want another striker into your team? So it depends, but I do like your team. Walker and Adams in, preparing for Game Week 19 double Game Week bench boost. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, for a bench boost, I get it. I mean, Walcott, I don't know. I know he scored against Arsenal, but he's not that good. But, you never know. Maybe he's going to get a lot of confidence now. Che Adams, I do like. Walcott, I'm not so sure about. But hopefully it works out for you. Would you say moving from KDB to Son was a good move? I mean, I just think he offers better value. He's 2 million cheaper. And he gives you that Spurs cover. And Spurs just... I mean, Son and Kane, everything they touch turns to gold, apart from Kane the other day. But we won't talk about that. As for Son, though, his conversion rate is insane. It's one of the best in Europe at the moment. So I do like that move. Ultimately, there's going to be some weeks where KDB hauls and you're going to be like, oh, I wish I had him. But you can't have everyone. And ultimately, I think Son is going to get a similar amount of points from here up until the end of the season. So, yeah, that's what I would say. I think it's a good move. All right, so since you're rating teams, I mean, to be honest, I'm not, but fair enough. What do you think about mine? Martinez, Chilwell, Dallas, Bednarek, Grealish, KDB, Salah, Bruno, Son, Bamford, and DCL. Subs are all cheapest options. I mean, for Game Week 19, looking ahead for that, if you're not planning on using a bench boost, there's no problem. Maybe you could start going for maybe more double Game Week players if you want, but you have plenty of them already, to be fair. I wouldn't change keepers for these double Game Weeks and stuff like that. But the likes of Grealish, you could maybe go for the likes of Bowen or something like that. But yeah, I mean, your team is pretty good. I like your front two. Your midfield is obviously very good. You've got 5 fantastic choices that, not many people have. It's a differential in itself to have that midfield. Dallas, like I said, I mean, he's got a double game week coming up and he has a lot of attacking potential. But I don't like Leeds defensively, I'll be honest. And then Bednarek, he's decent. He offers that Southampton cover. So I like that team. But of course, your lack of depth is probably going to be your main issue going forward. So I would just keep an eye on that. Thanks, mate. My team is Martinez, Kufal, Zuma, Lamptey, Salah captain, Bruno, Grealish, Ward-Prowse, Podence, Bamford, Kane, DCL. Pretty cheap bench. Yeah, I like that, Eddie. But as people have been pointing out earlier, there is a rumour that Salah might be benched. So depends on what you believe. You don't want to captain him and then he comes on as a substitute to turn the game around and, he doesn't get you the points you want. So just bear that in mind. Lamptey is a doubt. He's got another knock. That guy lives with knocks. But I like your team overall. I do think Podence and Ward-Prowse, I mean, they're a bit weird ones. Podence is obviously very, very explosive player in real life and he can get you a lot of points at times, but very inconsistent. And then Ward-Prowse, he's got a lot of points so far this season, but most of them come from set pieces. So the source of the points are unsustainable. I mean, you looked at how many great crosses he put in against Arsenal, but he didn't get any points because they were dealt with very well. So I would keep an eye on those two players. I'm not not big fans of them, but I do like the rest. I will have 2 free transfers next week. What would you do? Meslier, Martin, Chilwell, KWP, Target, Balbuena, Mitchell, Salah, KDB, Grealish, Bruno, Soucek, Kane, Bamford, Welbeck. I think the main thing, I mean, as soon as I read his name, I think you should upgrade him, is Welbeck. And I don't know how much money you have, but I would try to get rid of him for sure. And if you're using a bench boost for game week 19 maybe, you could upgrade Mitchell to the likes of Taylor, if you have enough money to do that. So that's what I would say. Soufal, by the way. Fair enough. Thank you for that, Alex. I'm not sure if you're from that country, but thank you for that. I'll call him Soufal from now on. I think I say Kufal, which is probably very wrong. Is it actually pronounced that way, Alex? I mean, I'm not sure. I know I read it wrong. My bad. But while your message is retracted. Fair enough. That's from someone else. Captaining Grealish is too risky. From Premium's got KDB, Bruno, Salah. I mean, it's up to you, but ultimately I have taken that risk before and I got 1 point from it. And like I keep on saying, Grealish, I mean, ever since that, I never wanted to captain him again. And then looking at the previous game weeks, he should have gotten so many points and he hasn't. Like I said, 6 chances created against Burnley, 6 shots, no points. Only from a clean sheet. Well done. But, I mean, ultimately, I don't care. So, in my opinion, it's best to, captain the likes of Son if you want. If not, Kane, Bruno, Salah, KDB. The likes of Grealish, not too sure. To be fair, Calvert-Lewin, because of his consistency, why not? He is an option. I think he's a better option than Grealish. I know Grealish has the fixture, of course, but I'm just not feeling it. I would say don't do it, but it's up to you because if I say no and you don't do it and then he does really well, of course you're going to regret it. So it's your decision, but ultimately, me personally, I would not do it. Was it a good move to transfer out Jorginho and take in Son to afford it? I transferred out Kane and took in Bamford. Definitely. I mean, Jorginho's not even playing that much. Son is just a huge upgrade. And then Bamford to Kane, of course, that's a downgrade, but Bamford for his price offers such great value. I mean, if you just compare it, Son to Kane, very little difference between them. Son offers better value. And then Bamford and Jorginho, Bamford's just way better, offers better value. So yeah, I like those moves. I just did Bamford to Welbeck for a 1 week punt. Sheffield United are more embarrassing than the Derby County team that holds a record for lowest points total. My Discord calling me daft. I mean, I wouldn't say it's daft, but I mean, I just prefer Bamford. I know the fixture is really tough for them, but Leeds are so attacking. They're going to create chances in that game. Man United aren't exactly a great team, especially defensively. So I get it. The fixture, you're chasing the fixture. But long term, you'd want to get Bamford in straight away. But maybe for this week, Welbeck's in the dream team and Bamford gets a 1 or 2 pointer or he gets sent off. So I wouldn't call it daft, but I wouldn't do it personally. You've done it already. Hopefully it works out for you, but Bamford does very well too because I do have him. Hey Dylan, I've already used my free hit sadly. Therefore, I save a bunch of free transfers until game week 18 and then switch all my Villa and Spurs players out. How many free transfers can I hold? You can only hold 2 free transfers. And that's pretty much it. So if you have 2 free transfers and then you make no changes and you go into a next game week, you still have 2. It's not like you have 3. And yeah, I mean, I get your logic, but getting rid of Spurs players, I mean, even if you're getting the double game week and stuff like that, I don't feel comfortable with that. I'm just being honest with you. Rashford and Son in, thinking Rashford due to the double and planning free hit for game week 18, although I feel Son is risky without no Kane either. Not having any Spurs, attacker is just risky in itself, to be honest. So no matter what you do, it's a risk. Any transfer you make is a risk, as evidenced by what I did. I went from Chilwell to Diaz. Chilwell gets the assist, Diaz scores an own goal, but on another day, maybe that doesn't happen. So every transfer is a risk, but ultimately I get your logic. Rashford, I think for the double game week and maybe for the next 10 game weeks or so can be a very good choice. But when I'm looking towards the end of the season, Rashford isn't someone I'm really interested in. But of course I get the appeal and he has done very well recently. Thank you, Eddie, for your comment and have a good night as well. Goalkeeper suggestions. I mean, if you are not using a chip, I don't know why you would be looking to change your keeper unless you have 2 free transfers, you're not going to do anything and you don't want to burn a transfer, fair enough. But in terms of keepers, I mean, I think Martinez is fine. The likes of McCarthy also, I think they're the 2 best keepers this season. So if we look in terms of the highest points, I mean, I know there's going to be some more expensive options at the top of the table like Pope. But I just don't think it's worth that extra bit of money. I mean, yeah, I just go for Martinez, and if not, McCarthy. I think they're my favourite picks. But of course, there are more. But yeah, they're probably my 2 picks. And McCarthy does have that double game week, so you could go for him. But yeah, I wouldn't take hits, and I wouldn't, make transfers when you other fires to put out, if you know what I mean. Keepers is going to be, the least beneficial position to make changes in. So yeah, bear that in mind. This is my first season in FPL, and I messed up very bad at the beginning since I used all my chips in the first couple of weeks, not knowing what I was doing, and now I'm screwed for game week 18. Well, to be honest, I mean, you're new to it, so that's fair enough. And yeah, it's important to try hold your chips and only use them when you're completely confident that they'll work out. Maybe you did well in those weeks that you played the chips, so it's not too bad. But of course, the likes of free hits, wild cards and stuff like that, you want to be, saving for scenarios like this. But to be honest, you've got a second wild card coming up. My suggestion would be don't, be in a rush to play it just because everyone's going to be playing it or playing other chips, and you want to, kind of mitigate the losses that you make. Don't do that. Just think about what's best for your team and don't worry too much. I mean, you can still prepare very well for the double game week. Like I said, in my case, a lot of people will be looking at my team and thinking, you need more double game week players. But I look at it and I think I've got plenty. And if I don't use the bench boost, why have double game week players on my bench? Or am I foolish enough to bench Son and Kane just because they have a 1 game week? I mean, that's the thing. There's so many things that come into it, but that's the problems that are posed by FPL. We've got to find the solutions pretty much, but, don't worry too much about that. Kane, Robertson and James in for Vardy, Cancelo and Chilwell for -8 as a long-term move. Price rise and fall for Kane, Vardy respectively incoming this night, and then I couldn't afford them anymore. To be honest, I mean, you're going to get Kane in. I'm guessing you're going to captain him. But, I mean, why get Robertson anyway for Cancelo? I don't know. If not, why not keep Chilwell and not get Robertson? That's what I think. So I guess James is going to be your Chilwell replacement, so I get that. But I'm not too sure about the defenders. I get the striker change, and I would do it. But in order to facilitate it, I would rather... Yeah, I wouldn't do the other moves personally. I wouldn't. If I had to pick one, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. Maybe Chilwell to James and do that, and that's it. But I wouldn't do Cancelo to Robertson. Thank you, Atul, for joining, and see you in the next stream. Who are you captaining, Dylan? And I thought Bruno didn't blank away. I just have to say this. I've captained Bruno twice this season, and he got benched against West Ham, although he did salvage an assist at the end and some bonus points. And the second time I captained him, he blanks for the first time away from home since he's joined the Premier League. Very frustrating, but of course these things happen. And if you look at the game, Bruno was one of the best players in the game. He produced so many chances. To be fair, he didn't have any himself, which is disappointing, but he looks so sharp, and Sheffield are a poor team, so that makes it even more frustrating. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. No one's going to produce every single game. Not even Messi, Ronaldo, Maradona, whichever player you want to mention. They're not going to produce every single week. It's impossible. And even then, Bruno did produce, just not the points we wanted. So very unfortunate. And in terms of who I'm captaining in, it's definitely Kane, I think. Although I may make a change at the end, but that will probably be my vice captaincy. And yeah, it would probably be Bruno my vice captain and Kane's my captain. And yeah, there's quite a few options this week. But as someone pointed out earlier, there is a rumour at least that Salah's going to be benched against Palace. So just bear that in mind. And let's go through these questions. I hate how the chat keeps on scrolling up and down. Apologies. Are these streams a weekly thing? Sorry, I'm a new fan. Yeah, no, basically every single time there's a deadline coming up. I know the deadline's tomorrow, but I'm not able to do it tomorrow, unfortunately. But yeah, I stream pretty much every single week. Also, UCL Fantasy, if you're into that. I make live streams as well. And yeah, I also do normal videos, previews and stuff like that. I'll be doing chip strategies, stuff like that. So yeah, thank you for joining the channel, and definitely more live streams to come. And yeah, hopefully more points for all of us. Welcome Football Highlights for joining. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone looking at Fabianski for double game week? I mean, that's a great shout, to be fair. But if you're asking me, for example, I would probably go for a cheaper keeper like McCarthy. And in terms of the defence, you can get Creswell and Kufal. So yeah, if it was a question between Kufal or Fabianski, I'd probably go for Kufal. But Fabianski as a keeper is a great choice. The only problem with him is he's a bit pricier than the likes of McCarthy. And if you're looking long-term, not just the double game week, then Martinez, I think he's fantastic value. Best goalkeeper for 4 million. I mean, no one's going to play, so I couldn't really tell you. The only thing I would suggest is that if you're looking at getting free Southampton players and free Villa players, then of course try to avoid having their second keepers because they're wasting a slot and you can't have more than three, of course. And that would require hits and stuff like that, or playing a chip in order to kind of sort everything out. So that's my only suggestion, really. But at 4 million, no one's going to play. It's not like UCL Fantasy where you have Keller, who's 3.8 million and he's playing some games at times when Alisson's out. So unfortunately, that's not the case. Is it all buffers and burgers today? Seems like photosynthesis. What? I don't know what you're on about. Are you thinking of upgrading Foster for the double game week? If I were playing my double, my bench boost, then yeah, I would. But otherwise, no. If I'm not... Basically, my plan right now is to play a free hit in Game Week 18 and in Game Week 19 literally rock with this team, maybe a few other additions. And if I'm looking at it, unfortunately I can't do Kilman to Taylor, who has a double game week, although he does have Liverpool anyway, I think. So that is a tough one. But in order to do that, I would have to move Basuma to a 4.4 million midfielder like that Palace guy. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. I don't know why I'm not going to pronounce it. So I could do that. And then if I'm looking to have a bench boost, then yeah, I would get a second keeper. Otherwise, literally just rock with this team. And yeah, of course, changes will happen along the way. Injuries, COVID, maybe I'll see a better alternative to someone I have. But otherwise, I'm not really too bothered, if I'm being honest. Are you first time playing this year? My team is only valued at a total of 100.4 million. What am I doing wrong? Don't think about team value too much. I mean, the ones at the top of team value, they literally have a really poor amount of points, to be honest. I think it's a bit weird because this team value you see on screen, 104.6 million with 0.2 in the bank, that is different to maybe the one you see on your screen. So I think my overall one is 102. So if I sell my team, it's around 102.5 million. So what you see here is the overall value because of price rises and stuff like that. But because of the difference in selling and purchasing prices, that's why this is so inflated maybe compared to what you have. So don't worry too much about that. I mean, team value, what does it matter if you're not going to benefit from it? It's ultimately about the points. Of course, if you have more team value, you can fit in more big hitters and stuff like that. But ultimately, you want a balanced team, and that's as simple as that. So don't worry about that. Goalkeeper suggestions. Yeah, I already answered your question, Saham. Like I said, Martinez. And if not, if you're looking at that double game week, McCarthy. You could go for Fabianski if you have the funds. Although, like I said, the fact that he's a bit pricier kind of puts me off. But those are my 3 suggestions. The day Bruno was benched, he got assists and bonus points. Yeah, he got 1 assist and 2 bonus points, I believe. But then again, I mean, that's the point. I mean, I've captained him twice and he gets benched for like the first time maybe ever in the Premier League, and then the other time he blanks. So maybe from now on, I'm not going to captain him. Maybe I should move the vice-captaincy away from him, but yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter anyway, I think. I'm considering using the second wildcard already in Game Week 17. I mean, if you have a plan for that, then fair enough. I would maybe, play around with the transfer section and kind of have a team visualized for Game Week 17 onwards. And yeah, that could work out very well for you. But maybe saving a wildcard all the way up until Game Week 30 plus will be beneficial because you never know. I'm just saying, just don't set it in stone. Consider it, be open-minded, but things can change from week to week. So yeah, just bear that in mind, but could be very good for you. Why would Salah get benched? I mean, to be honest, just for a rest, and Liverpool do have quite a lot of quality anyway. They can still beat Palace without him. I'm not saying he is going to be benched, by the way. I'm not saying that, but I'm pointing out the rumour that was pointed out by a viewer of this channel that has been spreading around Twitter. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I have to say, a lot of times people say, oh, that news is BS and stuff like that. And it ends up being true. So just take it with a pinch of salt. If you think he's going to start, then captain him and stuff like that. But either way, I'm going to captain Kane. That's the point. And doesn't matter. That's not playing a part in my captaincy decision. I'm not going to be benching him. I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm not saying he is going to be benched. That's what I'm going to say on that, though. Wish you good luck for this week. Have a great day. I'm head out. Thank you, Anonymous, and see you next time. Thank you for watching yet again. Hola Dylan, buen equipo, ¿es Fernández mejor opción que KDB? ¿Qué opinas? Y para mí sí es mejor porque tiene más puntos, de visitante es muy bueno y KDB, bueno, si seamos sinceros, KDB no está produciendo los puntos como Fernández y City no están metiendo tantos goles y también no están creando tantas chances como antes. Así que para mí es Bruno. Simple. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Sorry, my little cousin grabbed my phone. He typed in all with stuff, photosynthesis and burgers. Oh my god. Fair enough. That was very funny. Bamford or Wilson? I would say Bamford. Yeah. And that is a choice I had to make. I went from Wilson to Bamford. And the first week I did that, Wilson gets the assist and Bamford scores. Literally a difference of 1 point. It is what it is. But Wilson's a great choice, and he's a differential. So if you're looking for differentials, he could be your guy. But his fixtures, let's look at his fixtures actually. So Game Week 14. In Game Week 15 onwards, fixtures turn for the worse. They have Man City away, and then they have, I think, Liverpool. Yeah, Liverpool at home. So do you see what I mean? The fixtures turn really quickly. So Bamford is your best bet in my opinion. And also Newcastle, they're just not as good offensively, and Leeds can create chance after chance after chance for Bamford, and he wastes a lot of them, but he also scores a lot of them. Vardy to Kane and Chilwell to Robertson. I prefer Chilwell over Robertson, to be honest. I do like Vardy to Kane, but Chilwell to Robertson, not for me. Thank you, Zach, for commenting. Thank you, and thank you, Saham. KDB King of Game Week 14. Mark this, mate. I mean, like I said, he has a great record. Let's look at his record again against Southampton. 2 goals in 7 games and 6 assists. Of course he can do something. But you know what? We'll have to wait and see. There's so many choices this week, and I think it's going to be even more varied than it was in the past few weeks. You've got Son, Kane, you've got Fernandes, Salah, Mane. There's so many choices. Some people will be captaining Calvert-Lewin because of how bad Arsenal are. Some people are going to be going for Grealish because of West Brom. There's a lot of choices this week. But ultimately, I think maybe KDB will be the highest scorer. Hopefully not, but we'll see. Salah won't be benched. He will get his rest in the Carabao Cup. Ninad, Liverpool have been eliminated in the Carabao Cup by Arsenal. Just have to point that out there. I don't know, when was that game? I think back in September. It was at Anfield. They lost on penalties. So yeah, there's no Carabao Cup for them to rest in anyway. And that's why Salah might get rested. And they still have a game, I think next week, or if not, a few days' time. Let's actually check that. It's good to always be prepared. So 26th of December. Yeah, there's a week's break in between Game Week 14 and 15. So yeah, to be honest, I mean, I don't think he's going to be benched if you're asking me, but there's rumours happening. But I don't think he will be benched. We'll see what happens. Hopefully he doesn't. That would be pretty disappointing. Thoughts on Burnley defenders? Do you think they're considered options? Thank you, Zucci, for your question, and thank you for joining once again. Yeah, like I said, because I'm a fool, I went from Chilwell to Diaz, and I went from Diaz to Chilwell again. And if I look at it now, I think, I could do Kilman to Taylor. That's great. But guess what now? I'm 0.1 million off because I was so impulsive. And I can't do that, unfortunately, anymore. But Taylor, I think, is the standout at 4.4 million. Surely his price is going to go up soon. And Burnley have been keeping some clean sheets. And for that double game week, he's a good choice to have on your bench. Or if not, to be starting if you back him. Of course, Liverpool is one of those games, which of course is not very good. But yeah, Taylor is going to be definitely the standout. West Ham defenders. Yeah, in my opinion, Soufal's the best. Soufal. I think he's the best, and that's why I went with him. But there's still Mazuaka when he comes back. I'm not sure when he does though, so I would obviously steer clear of him. And Creswell. And maybe I could get Creswell in, but to be honest, all of my defenders apart from Kilman have double game weeks, and Kilman doesn't play anyway. So if I had Taylor also, I would have 5 defenders with double game weeks. So I'm not looking to get rid of one of these for Creswell necessarily, but yeah, him and Soufal, I have to get that right, are your best bets. Let's see. Let's go back up. Thank you, Dylan. Always cool to listen to some advice for you. I'm going to head out later and good luck. Thank you, Stefan. And all the best. All the best. Alex Iwobi, worth it? No, not for me. Definitely not. I mean, it will be so inconsistent and not for me. I mean, he might... You know what? For this game week against Arsenal, whoever used to play for Arsenal and they play, fixture against them, they just tend to do well. So fair enough, but not for me. Not Iwobi. Thoughts on downgrading Chilwell to James so I can afford Kilman to Stones Taylor? This is the thing with Stones, you have to be prepared for a lot of rotation. Sometimes it's going to be random, and you also just have to prepare for, he could literally just be dropped instantly. Like right now, I think he's a starting, 11 centre-back choice for Pep Guardiola, but if Laporte comes back into his plans, I don't know. I mean, if you have this team, you have the squad to kind of cope with Stones being benched, then maybe go for it. But as for Taylor, I think Kilman to Taylor is a good move. But as for downgrading Chilwell to James, I'm not sure. I mean, they both offer great attacking value. Reece James is very, frustrating at times because he gets a lot of one-pointers from yellow cards or conceding 2 goals and stuff like that. And in maybe those same games, Chilwell and Zuma get some points. But I don't know. I think Reece James, I would still stand by what I said. I think he does offer probably the best value from Chelsea defenders because Zuma's 0.4 million more, Chilwell's 1 million more pretty much. So, you know what? Those moves are good, but ultimately, you'd have to probably play your bench boost in order to have Taylor's points for the double game week. And, yeah, I mean, what if you don't play your bench boost? What if you don't have it? Then that's a different story in itself. But your overall squad will benefit from those moves, so I would say go for it. But don't take hits. Don't take hits for that. Everyone has Salah, so I'm going for Mane and wildcard. Well, to be honest, in this game week, if I could change my team every single week, I would have Mane over Salah because of his record against Palace. And I think Mane is due a haul. But overall, Salah's a far better option this season. And, getting rid of Salah anyway is just really difficult to do. Give some of the best 5-6 players to own for double game week premium and value, like Rodrigo, Walcott, Bowen, Benrahma, maybe. Okay. Well, in terms of best, you know what? Let's look at this. Let us look. Let me get the fixtures up. So thank you for that. So for the double game weeks, let's look. I'm not sure if you're going to be playing a bench boost, but I'm just going to put in players that I think can do very well for the double game week. So let's see. So in goal, I would probably have McCarthy, and he would be my Southampton cover. So maybe you could get rid of Walker-Peters. And if you are bold enough, you could go for double West Ham defence because let's look at the fixtures again. They have Burnley at home and West Brom at home in double game week 19. But just bear in mind, I've said this before, West Ham are such an inconsistent team overall. And maybe not this season, but years gone by, they beat the teams that you don't expect them to beat. And against the teams that are worse than them, they struggle. So just bear that in mind. But you could go for something like this. Double Chelsea defence, double West Ham defence. I mean, it is very risky. And to be honest, you could go for Reece James instead of Zuma. If you want to save money, you could always downgrade Chilwell to one of them. But, you know what, I'll keep things as they are. And to be honest, in terms of, you could go for Dallas, but I'm not too sure about him. So let's look at the fixtures here. So West Ham, like I said, Burnley at home, West Brom at home. West Brom, I'm not going to go for any of their players, but you can do so if you want, if you think Sam Allardyce is going to get a reaction. Leicester have Southampton and Chelsea at home. Like I've already said with Leicester, their home record is very poor overall this season, and the only player I would consider is Vardy. So maybe instead of Kane, you could go for Jamie Vardy. I mean, yeah, he is fairly consistent, even though his team isn't. So yeah, maybe you could go for something like that. Calvert-Lewin, unfortunately, I hate getting rid of him, but yeah, you could also just say bye-bye to him. Then we look at other teams. So obviously Leeds have 2 game weeks, so Bamford is a must in my opinion. And Southampton have Leicester away, Leeds away. That's why we have McCarthy in there. Fulham have Chelsea at home, Man United at home. You could go for like Lookman, stuff like that. But personally, I mean, I'm not feeling it too much. But let's put him in. Let's get Lookman in. And to be honest, Bowen, like you pointed out, he's a good option. And you could go for him. But of course, I mean, long term, I wouldn't want to have this guy. But you know what? For this game week, I think he could be pretty good. Oh yeah, Grealish, get out. Definitely get out. And yeah. So I'll look at something like this. I would probably go for Taylor. You know, that budget option. But bear in mind, one of the games is against Liverpool. So Burnley, they have, apart from Liverpool away, they've got West Ham away. So maybe not the greatest choice. But in terms of budget, who has a double game week, he's there. And like I said, if you don't have enough money for this, you could downgrade Chilwell to Zuma. And if not, you could go to Walker-Peters, Vestergaard, etc. But it depends. Ultimately, do you think Southampton are more likely to keep a clean sheet than the likes of West Ham, Burnley, Chelsea? It's up to you. So those are some of the options. Target those defences, in my opinion. But let's say you don't like West Ham defence. Get rid of him and get Dallas. Simple as. So this is what I'd probably go with. And yeah, these 2 positions, I will admit, I'm a bit stuck on. But let's look at the fixtures again. Chelsea, I wouldn't get any of their strikers. None of their midfielders. Leicester, I've already got Vardy in there. West Ham, Mikel Antonio could be good. Would you go for triple West Ham? That is up to you. I mean, to be honest, you could go for Danny Ings or Che Adams. Let's see how much we have in terms of budget. 17.7. So you could get away with this. And to be honest, this is just for double game week players, by the way, because you could still have, the likes of KDB, Kane, Son, all these players that don't have double game weeks, but they could do very well for you. And then 9.3 million left. I mean, I don't know. You could go for anyone you want, to be honest. Maybe, Rashford, I think we'd be priced out a bit. And this is my team value, by the way. So let's go for Rashford for that double game week. 0.1 million off. So in that case, to be honest, most people won't have my value. A lot of people will have less. So let's just do Chilwell to Reece James. And that is the team I would suggest. Yeah, that would be my team. So something like this for Game Week 19, if obviously I had the choice. And of course, we've got 0.8 million to spare. If you don't, then look for compromises in your team. Of course, you could maybe just downgrade Lookman and forget him. And of course, like I said, if you have a team like this, full of double game week players, the only way to benefit from it is if you have a bench boost available for that game week and you use it. But McCarthy in goal, Zuma, Reece James, Dallas, Taylor, Soufal, Rashford, Lookman, Salah, Fernandes, Bowen, Ings, Bamford, and Vardy. So something like that. And if you have any more questions, then let me know. But yeah, that's something I would come up with probably. So let's look, as I've definitely missed a lot of questions and comments in the meantime. So apologies for that. Just did some research over the past 3 games. Watkins has a combined non-penalty expected goals of 1.1 and Adams has a one of 0.1 with a non-penalty expected goals of 0 in 2 of these games. Yeah, I know, but I'm just looking at it as who's been getting the points and who offers better value overall, and I still think Che Adams does. And that's the thing, Watkins, he's a difficult one because let's say you get rid of him ahead of the West Brom game and he does really well, you're obviously going to be kicking yourself. So I wouldn't get rid of him yet, but that's if you've already kept him for this long. I would have got rid of him ages ago, but that's a fair point you make, and it's a very good argument and very well done. But I'm just saying, I still, regardless of the statistics, I would still prefer Che Adams, but that's just me. Haha, Kufal, Sufal always messes me up. Yeah, to be honest, I've just been programmed into saying Kufals. Every single video I say Kufal. So every single time I say it, I just end up, saying it wrong. But it's Sufal, I think anyway. Hopefully I haven't been trolled there. Rashford for double game week, yeah. And that's why on screen here, I've got him in. And I'm not saying I'm doing this, by the way. But if I were wildcarding or whatever, this is something I would look for Game Week 19. Something similar. Maybe if you want more value, downgrade Ings to Che Adams and then look to upgrade the midfield in another way. But yeah. Best differentials, to be honest, Rashford, as you see in the title of this video, I think he's a great differential. But just, it depends on your rank. I know, obviously, if you are in a rank you're not happy with, of course you're going to be chasing the differentials. You want to have something over your rivals, and I get that. But don't be completely obsessed with differentials. But if you're asking me right now, I think Rashford his ownership is going to be going up by the minute. A week or 2 ago, that wasn't this high. But he is still a differential of sorts. But if you want differentials of like 5% ownership or less, I think Soufal, let's get that right, he still is. Look, 2.8%. I think he's a great differential. I'm surprised he's not owned by that many people. But yeah, only 1 return for me so far in 4 game weeks, but hopefully more to come. So those are 2 that I would recommend at the moment, but don't be obsessed about them. That's all I'm going to say. I think for this game week, Son is ahead of Kane for the armband. Kane may have a better record, but this is Mourinho time. Son is fire. Fair enough, that is a good point. But then again, Son tends to produce, and it's assisted by Kane, or Kane scores from a Son assist anyway. So I think both are good options, and maybe I have, overlooked Son a bit, but I just think, I have both of them, and Kane's record is too good to ignore. He is even more consistent than Son. I look at it that way, and I think, I'll just captain Kane. But I get your logic, and Son in this Mourinho team has just found another level, so fair enough, and hopefully they both do very well. Actually, no, I take that back. No, I hope they don't, but if Spurs score, hopefully they're part of it, but no. Oh my God, I feel very bad for saying that. But yeah. Let's have this screen up just in case anyone asks about double game week 19. But yeah. Let's also look at my team again. Back to reality, unfortunately. And let's go. So yeah, this is my team for the week. For those who are new and those of you who haven't seen yet. And let's get this back up. I did Salah for Mane this week. I missed 4-5 straight returns from Salah. No to Mane. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, that's the thing. This is something I did last season. So I had Salah from game week 1, I believe. This is last season, yeah. And then for game week 2, he blanked. And then what did I do? I got in Mane. And then Mane blanked against Arsenal and Salah got like 15 points or something like that. And then I did the opposite switch and then I missed out on the points again. So definitely just pick one and stick to them. And this season, in my opinion, Salah's the far better option overall. For this game week, I will stress, I mean, records aren't everything, but Mane has the superior record and he is due a haul. So I would expect him to maybe outperform Salah. But overall, Salah's definitely the better pick. So, yeah, I wouldn't complicate it too much and keep on changing it. Spurs to keep a clean sheet. Yeah, I think Dyer's a great option for this game week. And Reguilon, if you have him, if he does play. But, yeah, I think Spurs are much more likely to keep a clean sheet than Leicester. Say you had the likes of KDB, Salah, Bruno, and you didn't have any Spurs assets. Would you be settled on who to captain for this game week? I wouldn't say settled, but they're all good choices. And I would have a bit of a decision to make. I still do, to be fair. I mean, it's not like Kane is a far better choice than all of them. But from those that you mentioned, I would probably captain Bruno still. But the fact that United are so toothless, at home does worry me. But then again, it takes one good game like they had against Leipzig at home in the Champions League. They win 5-0 and something like that. I think the way Leeds play is the thing that tempts me most towards Bruno. But KDB's record against Southampton, also KDB is just, City haven't been great. KDB hasn't either in terms of FPL, but he still can get those points. And then Salah, in my opinion, I always say this, he's, if there was one player you could literally just stick the armband on every single week, it would be Salah. So that's why you can never discount him. But yeah, I would probably say Bruno. If I don't make transfers for 5 weeks, will I get 5 free transfers? No, Ninad. So like I said, you can only stack up to 2 free transfers. So let's say in my case, I wait 2 weeks, I have 2 free transfers, and then I don't make a transfer. And this has happened before, by the way. And I wait yet another game week. Despite already having 2 transfers, I don't get another one added on top. It stands at 2. So yeah, you can definitely not stack up to 5 free transfers. Bit similar to UCL Fantasy. Although in UCL Fantasy, I do believe if you play a chip already, you get up to 3 free transfers during the group stages, but that's different. So yeah. Ogbona's a good option, fair enough, but I think Soufal, Creswell, they would be my picks, and also Masuaku once he's fit and playing again. But Ogbona's not a bad option for sure. He is a bit of a threat from set pieces. Time to get West Brom defender. Big Sam loves clean sheets. That's a good point, but I don't know, like West Brom, I have to see first. I have to see it to believe it. And I do think they have maybe a better chance of staying up now because of Sam Allardyce's record. And I keep mentioning record today, but it is true. Sam Allardyce is very good at keeping teams up. But I have to say, the way they treated Bilic was a disgrace. But it is what it is. That's football nowadays. And maybe West Brom defenders will be more viable options nowadays. But yeah, Sam Allardyce, poor football, to be honest. I did Ings to Martial this week as a differential after hearing the Hasenhüttl press options. Oh yeah, Hasenhüttl, that's a very good point. Thank you for that comment, Anderson. So yeah, Hasenhüttl did say that his players were very tired in the last game against Arsenal, which obviously does contradict what he said before the game, because he was saying, oh, we feel so good, we feel so fresh against Arsenal. But after that game, he said, oh, the opposite. But yeah, that's a very good point. I still don't like Martial. I know he might do well in these next few game weeks. And last season, I think around the same period, he did very well. But I prefer Rashford and Bruno for sure. Bruno's the standout, but then your differential, I would prefer Rashford. But yeah, Martial's a good pick overall, and maybe he will get you the points, and it will be a great transfer for you. So good luck. I want the old Leipzig Werner, hungry and doesn't miss chances a lot. To be honest, he missed a lot of open goals this season so far. Yeah, and not just open goals, just chances. He scuffs at them. He seems to rush them. His positioning, sometimes he's torn between being on the left and being central. So I get those points. And at Leipzig, it was definitely more clinical. But I don't think he was ever as clinical as people thought, because let's be honest, not a lot of people watched the Bundesliga. Not many people watched Red Bull Leipzig's games, last season in the Champions League. So, he's never been very, very clinical. And I even remember for the World Cup, in Russia, for Germany, he missed a lot of chances also, and they crashed out in the group stages. I don't think he's regressed that much overall, but in the Premier League, I do think he still needs to adapt. And he has shown some good moments, but overall, I think he can improve a lot. And I think when Ziyech is back again, and they're combining with Werner and Pulisic, then I think he will maybe get more chances, have more confidence. But yeah, I do get your point. On paper, West Ham probably have the best fixtures for the double game week. I agree. Do you think it would be worth going for triple West Ham players for that game week? Soufal, Bowen, Antonio if fit? Yeah, like I said, so let's look back onto my team. So like I pointed out, Soufal, you could even get Fabianski in goal. Bowen, and if Antonio is fit, you can have him up front instead of Ings, for example. So I really get your point, and that's a very good point that you make. But like I said, West Ham, they can, sometimes not turn up against these teams you would expect them to beat, the likes of Burnley and West Brom. But if they do, they're fantastic options for that game week, amongst the best probably. So that's why in this team you see Bowen, you see Soufal, and you could add Antonio there, you could add Creswell there, or Fabianski. Those would be my 5 picks or so from West Ham. But yeah, very good question, Suchi. Thank you for your comment. Robertson and Alexander-Arnold for double game week. This could be humongous. Maybe. In years gone by, I would say definitely. And, I would probably have one of them still, regardless of double game weeks. But this season, I'm not sure. I think you can find better value elsewhere. But I do get your point. The Man United game could be tricky. Man United are pretty good on the road. They've won every single game. I would expect Liverpool to win that, though. And, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold can get some points. But I would prefer Robertson from those two that you did mention, at least this season so far. I got Rashford and Mane for Fernandes and Salah in wildcard because of budget. Yeah, fair enough. And Rashford's a good differential. But long term, as I keep on saying, Salah and Fernandes are definitely better options. And to be honest, yeah, that's what I would say. In seasons gone by, maybe Rashford and Mane would be a better duo, especially last season. But this season, I think, Bruno and Salah are just great. What's the ideal back line? And what's the best formation in general? As I keep on saying, 3-4-3, 3-5-2, but it's not about the formation, it's about the players you get in those formations. 4-4-2 worked very well for me anyway, even though it's not considered a great formation as such. 4-3-3 I don't really like too much, so yeah, 3-4-3, 3-5-2, I would definitely recommend those. Those would be my picks. And as for the ideal back line, I mean, I don't want to say this is my ideal back line, but one Chelsea defender, either Chilwell, Reece James or Zuma. One Spurs defender, maybe like Eric Dyer. A Southampton defender like Walker-Peters. A West Ham defender like Soufal. Yeah, I think that. And maybe Taylor for Kilman. That would be my ideal back 5. I know Robertson, a lot of people like him. And also the City, don't forget them. Diaz or Cancelo would be my picks. Those would be, my ideal back line. But then again, if you have your ideal backline as such, you're going to be leaving points on your bench every single week or most weeks, and that'll be very frustrating. So I like the back 5 I have right now, for example, or should I say back 4. That would be my answer to your question. Love your FPL content, bro. Keep up the good work. Thanks for your help. 15k in overall rank. Love from India. Thank you very much. And that's a very good rank. That's fantastic. And hopefully you keep on pushing. And stay consistent, and hopefully you keep on going up. Thank you for your comment, I really appreciate it. Just my thought, Bruno sit deeper versus Sheffield, Martial and Rashford better picks for captaincy than Bruno. Fair enough, but I mean, I don't have them, and I'm not going to be taking hits to get them in. But as you pointed out, Rashford and Martial, they're good differentials, at least for the next couple of game weeks. But then again, I mean, Bruno, even when he was playing deeper, was still influencing the game so much, and on another day, he could have gotten an assist or two. But I do get your point. I still prefer him over the others. That could change very soon after a couple of blanks, of course. But yeah, I think Rashford, like for the next couple of game weeks, as I've said before, for people who said, oh, I'm getting him in for Son or for Bruno, I said, you know what, that's a good short-term option, but I'm not sure about it going forward. And I stand by that. But yeah, for this game week, of course, Rashford could do very well. DCL, Bamford, Ings, who to bench? I mean, this is the thing. I don't like benching strikers. And probably Bamford, I guess, but I mean, I just feel bad saying that anyway. It would be. I would definitely start DCL. He's the first pick. Then it would be between Bamford and Ings to bench. But I would rather bench a defender or a midfielder that's more defensive, like Souček. That would be my opinion on it. Out of Salah, Fernandes, and Son, who would you captain? Great stream, Dylan. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Tariq, for joining once again and for your lovely comment. I would probably say Fernandes, but Son has been in such great form this season, probably the best of the 3, and Salah is Salah. The only thing is there's that rumour that he might not play. I'm not saying he won't, Yeah, I'll probably say Bruno, regardless of whether Salah will play or not and stuff like that. What's your overall rank, mate? And good luck to you for the game week, bro. I'm gonna head out. My overall rank is 71k in the world. And yeah, in terms of country, I'm 35, so very happy with that. And for Arsenal, I'm in the top 4k or nearly approaching the top 4k, so very happy with my rank. And like I said, far better than it was at the same stage last season. And thank you for joining for the stream, and hope to see you in the next one. It would be great if the Premier League added ball recovery feature because CDMs are useless at the moment. I completely agree. That's a fantastic point. And yeah, I mean, they just need to add stuff like that. Even Sky, I don't know if you've ever played that. They add stuff like shot tiers, passes tiers, tackles, all this stuff. And man of the match points, which is a bit like bonus to be fair, but they give extra points to the man of the match, the official one. I really, I think stuff like that would improve the game even more. Maybe even different captaincy options for each days, although maybe the way it is now, maybe it takes more skill per se, or maybe the captaincy is better in this game, but stuff like that, the ball recovery is definitely, and it would also make it harder. I mean, if you think about it, if let's say, let's think of a defender, Eric Dyer, for example, if I had him for Kilman, and he had a tough fixture, and I thought, maybe he's not going to get a clean sheet, but then he gets a lot of ball recoveries, and I thought, maybe Kilman, Dyer, he could play instead of Walker Peters, who has City, despite Walker Peters having more attacking potential per se, or Soufal. It would make the game much more interesting and more frustrating. There's going to be more times where you make the wrong decision, but ultimately I think it improves the game and gives you more decisions to make, because at the moment, whenever someone asks me, should I bench a defender or a striker or a midfielder, I always say bench the defender, even if their fixture is superior. So yeah, that's a great point. Definitely agree with that. Who to captain amongst DCL, Bruno, Salah? Like I said, Bruno probably, but Salah's a great choice. And Calvert-Lewin, as I've said before, outside the premium picks, he would be one of the top, if not the top guy. And Arsenal is a good fixture. I think Calvert-Lewin will score. Yeah, I would prefer him not to, if I'm being honest, even though he's in my team. But it is what it is. And he did score in the last game against Arsenal in a 3-2 loss. We'll have to wait and see what he does yet again. Do you have plans to utilise any of your chips for the upcoming game week 18 and 19? Do you like the idea of triple captaining Salah for the double game week, or do you think it's better to hold off? Good questions once again, Zucci. Like I said, for game week 18, the plan at the moment is to play my free hit because I only have 5 players on, or should I say in game week 18. And as for game week 19, I'm not too sure about that, to be honest. I'm pretty happy with how my team is for that because I do have plenty of players in that. So my 4 defenders, they all have double game weeks, and Fernandes has a double game week, Bamford has a double game week, Salah. The rest don't, but I mean, we're talking about Calvert-Lewin, Kane, Son, Grealish, who are good players. And if I'm looking ahead to game week 19, if I'm looking at who would I be playing, it would probably be Martinez in goal, Walker, Peters, Zuma, Chilwell, and Soufal as my back 4. I'd probably bench Grealish. I know that sounds a bit insane, but he's playing Tottenham, and I would back the Spurs duo to do better. So I'd play Son, Fernandes, Salah, and then yeah, Bamford, Kane, Calvert-Lewin, and Grealish would be on the bench. So yeah, I'd play a 4-3-3 for that game week probably. And if not, I could play a bench boost and I could target Taylor in for Kilman and stuff like that, or I could play a wild card or stuff like that. But ideally, the free hit for game week 18, and for game week 19, stick to what I have and probably bench Grealish. But we'll have to wait and see. Things can change. And like I said, it's important not to kind of completely settle on an idea, because if you're too stubborn, you might overlook something else that will be better for your team. But yeah, very good question, Zucci. And yeah, I think you asked another question. In terms of triple captaining Salah, for the double game week, it is very appealing, but he's only scored once against Manchester United, which was in the last game he played against them. So I'm not too sure. There might be better game weeks to captaining him in, but maybe he'll do really well in that. So Salah is probably going to be one of the top assets, in my opinion, in order to target for the triple captaincy. So yeah, definitely not a bad shout. How is Alba a midfielder in FPL? Because he plays basically as a left mid or a left winger for Arsenal. And if you look at Salah, he's not really a midfielder. He's a winger. Mane as well. And to be fair, it does kind of offer variety, because if you look at Sky, for example, Salah's a striker. I think Aubameyang, yeah, all of them are forwards. And in terms of midfielders, you're really stuck with the likes of Grealish, Ward-Prowse. Yeah, not even Son's a midfielder in that game. There's mainly just central midfielders: Bruno, KDB, and Grealish, James Rodriguez. They're kind of the main picks in midfield there. So I do like that they vary it, but Aubameyang should be a striker, to be honest, in my opinion. He was before last season, but they changed him this season. Ings playing Man City, so maybe he should be benched because Man United will leak goals for Bamford. I don't know if they will leak goals for Bamford, to be honest, but it depends because Oli can be very conservative, especially at home. They've kept most of the clean sheets at home, but then again, they haven't scored that many at home. So that's why I'm not too keen on captaining a Man United player and why I'm not too keen, about Leeds players overall in that game. But it could be open. But then again, maybe Leeds will attack a lot and then Man United play on the counter, Rashford scores or Bruno, whatever. So you never know. Who should I captain, Bruno, KDB or Salah? I mean, it's your decision, but ultimately from those three, I would probably captain Bruno. But as I said, I'm not too sure. I mean, out of all of those, they're all good choices, but there's arguments for and against each one of them. So you can't go wrong, I guess. But KDB would probably be the least, despite his good record against Southampton, just because of City and KDB this season in terms of FPL. Salah is just so reliable. He's the most reliable of the three. And Bruno, just because of the fixture, that's the guy I'd probably go for. Dylan, do you play FIFA? If so, career mode? Yeah, although I haven't played too much career mode this season because I have to say I'm just kind of a bit bored of FIFA. Maybe not bored, but, they haven't done enough to improve career mode, but I do play FIFA, and unfortunately I got the last version, although that is a mistake on my part, but yeah, I still play it. What's your team value? It looks a great team. Well, my team value in terms of, I'm guessing overall price is 104.6 million, but I've got 0.2 in the bank. But yeah, it does look all right, I guess. Thank you for that. Hopefully it does well. But yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about team value. Of course, it does enable you to have a team, that you like this one. But ultimately, they have to get the points. Hey friend, any recommended 5.5 million strikers for a few weeks? Thanks in advance. If I'm being honest, I mean, I don't think there is any. I mean, I know people have talked about Welbeck. I'm not too sure about that. But I mean, if I had to pick one, let's just replace this for a second. I think the Fulham guy, I would probably go for him, but I'm not too sure. So 5.5, let's go for that. You see, I'm not too sure. I mean, I look at it and I just don't like it. I mean, Rodrigo's a bit out of that price bracket. Welbeck you could go for, but I just don't like it. I mean, I'm not too sure about this. I mean, if I had to give you an answer, I mean, I'm not even sure, to be honest. I can't give you an answer. I'm sorry. I just don't like any of them. And I would rather downgrade to a 4.5 million striker and then focus on getting that fifth midfielder, if I'm being honest. But I just don't like it. I mean, I look at it. I'm trying to give you an answer here, but I just don't like what I see. Probably Welbeck, but even then, I would not want to have him for the next few game weeks even. So, yeah, that would be my answer. Let's get Vardy back in here. And Right, we'll be answering a final few questions before wrapping up, but thank you to everyone who is still here. Rate my team for this week. Martinez, Keane, Chilwell, Lamptey, Grealish, Sterling, Bruno, Salah, DCL, Wilson, Bamford. I like your front line, although after this game week I would look to getting rid of Wilson, potentially maybe for Adams, maybe for, if you can afford it, someone else who's higher, like Ings or something. Your midfield, I like Salah, I like Bruno, I like Grealish, even though he has been pretty poor recently and I'm maybe, losing patience with him, or I will lose patience with him. I just don't like Sterling. I would try to go to KDB if you can, and if not, go to Son. I think they're far better options than Sterling. And as for your defence, Lamptey, too many problems, and maybe I'd look to get a Southampton defender or a West Ham defender, and same goes for Keane. I just don't like them too much, but I do like Chilwell. You could double up in Chelsea defence. You could go for a Spurs defender. And if not, like I said, West Ham defender or Southampton. And your keeper's very good. Grealish actually plays Tottenham in game week 18, not 19. You'll be dropping him versus Everton in game week 19 for Sufal. But then again, not really the greatest of fixtures. Anyway, that's a very good point. Let me just check now. I think you are right. And my apologies for that. Don't want to spread misinformation. So yeah, Aston Villa have Spurs for that game week 18. Game week 19, and who do Spurs play? That's an important. Sheffield. I'm definitely not benching Spurs players or getting rid of them just because of double game weeks. Yeah, so I would probably still, bench Grealish for that. But that's a very good point. Thank you for correcting me. I apologise for getting that wrong. But yeah, I'd still probably bench Grealish, to be honest. And if not, I'd probably bench him, and if not, one of the defenders. But yeah, thank you for that. Which three amongst AWB, Mings, Creswell, and Robertson to play this week? I would probably play Robertson, AWB, and Mings. Yeah, I would probably bench Creswell because of the fixture. But like I said before, West Ham have kept a clean sheet before in the exact same fixture last season. So bear that in mind. It could happen. He has a bit of attacking potential as well. But yeah, the others are more likely to keep clean sheets. I'd definitely start Robertson, and I'd probably definitely start Mings. And then it's between the other two, and I would go for Aaron Wan-Bissaka because of the fixture. But then again, Leeds are a good team, and I'm not expecting a clean sheet for Man United, but they're a bit more likely than Creswell against Chelsea. But thank you to everyone who has joined in today. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed it, smash the like button. It really helps out the channel. And subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. We recently hit 1,850, and I really appreciate every single one of you who've done that. And a lot of progress has been made. And let me know. I'm going to be putting more polls in the future to all of you, as I've done today. I did ask all of you, what time do you want me to stream? At 5, 6 or 7 p.m. UK time. And I'll be asking you more questions to improve my channel, to add more content, and also to improve my content, because ultimately, you know, there are things that I'm doing wrong on top of some things that I may be doing right, and I want to rectify them and improve as much as possible. But I really appreciate everyone who has joined in, and more streams every single week. And of course, when you see our fantasy returns, I'll be doing more coverage on that, despite having a pretty poor season in that overall. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone who's joined in today, and have a great Christmas, have a great New Year, and I'll be seeing you in the next few videos, hopefully. And like I said, I'll be putting out polls. I'd really appreciate if you subscribe and go to the community tab and put your vote so that we can improve the channel even further. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.